Hello boys and girls, and in today's video we're gonna start working on our new application which I find on the frontend mentor. And this application basically is gonna be about giving some resources, feedback or suggestions regarding their website in our case. In general, this application we're gonna be building during several episodes. I believe it is going to be something around 5 videos on this topic. Uh, During this series of videos, we're going to cover some key concepts regarding developers and applications such as working with Angular, RxJS, NgRx to have a state management. Also, you will see from scratch how to build an application using Angular and so basically it's everything is going to be about Angular and how to work with it from zero and trying to understand what we actually need to do, how to manipulate data, so on, so on, so on. So I hope this series of videos gonna be very helpful for you, and grab a cup of coffee or tea, what do you prefer, relax and watch it for the first time, and then you can start building it by your own. Actually, you could use any other frameworks. So go ahead and enjoy. So as I told you earlier, this video is gonna be kind of introduction to the full series because the application itself has Figma design, and I will add a link to frontend mentor so you can find out this and try to do it by your own. Also, it's possible to download Sketch in Figma. Let's quickly take a look what it's gonna be about. So they're actually and designed for every kind of resolution, but let's start from the beginning. In general, our desktop page looks like this, and it's gonna be first page. We're not gonna do implement login here, but in the next videos we might extend and add login page to this. So basically it's a kind of profile of some website, in our case frontend mentor, and it's possible to see the list of feedbacks, sort them, see all different categories. So it's kind of feature, bug, what need to extend. Roadmap, it's kind of the status of current of all enhancements. And once user click on comment, in our case, and also it's possible to upvote. So and it's possible to add a new feedback, review some of them, and add a comment. Also, the pop-up, I believe it's going to be pop-up or page to create a new feedback with some, we will add some validation here, so on and so on. It's also possible to edit a feedback if it was given by you. The roadmap look like this. So it's actually a Kanban board, and we could see the status of each of our items. And also here we have a kind of design system with typo, buttons, and everything that needed. So in general, in today's videos, we're gonna create some basic infrastructure, add some mock data, define variables, such things that we're gonna need in the future. Also, we're gonna use NgRx state management to define the data with which we're gonna work. So it's gonna be simple, but it would be enough for this application at this point. So basically, we mock some data, we create actions, reducer, effects, and then using selectors, we're gonna grab this data from the store, from our state management, and display for the user. And we're gonna create the feedback item, not fully designed, but it would be enough to see how to move further. Let's switch to the coding part. So let's start coding. I created a folder feedback app, and to run our application, I've already had a global npm package for Angular installed, but if you don't know, you can install CLI and then just run the brand new project. Let's remove it. No, I can't because I'm in this folder. Okay. New feedback app for YouTube. I would use for feedback shirt FB just to do this faster. Yes, we will need routing. We will need to. I prefer to use SCSS. It's kind of easier to go just with it. Meanwhile, here we have a design system. We're gonna define almost all this stuff, but basically during the development, we're gonna update our design system in Angular app. So it takes some time, but it's okay. This needed, I don't need actually. Installing. Then we gonna need to, I've already created kind of basic structure in Figma just to understand how to split it easier to components. So it's gonna be like this. We're gonna have our app application. This thing gonna be divided into 3 different parts. One of them is gonna be website title or website profile. Yeah, we could name it profile. This is gonna be category filter, and this roadmap. And it's actually not roadmap. It's needed. We need to have it as a component, not a container. And okay, we could be yes. And with this folder, feedback YouTube, we're gonna use code. Also, I installed as a new them. It's a them from Free Code Camp. So take a look. You might like it also. Okay, we're gonna start from defining our what is gonna be models, enums, mock data, etc., etc. So here, once you download the source, you will see here a data.json it's actually a predefined data. So it looks like this. We're gonna create for this our folder mocks, because we do not create any API in this video series, but I have in my mind to do a practice using C#, so we might at some point do this. Feedback mock yes, and here we're gonna define what we have. We have actually an object for current user. We're gonna do this as export const current user. It's already in place, so it's gonna be username, application, etc. And then we're gonna have product requests, and for product request it's gonna be our too shiny, a lot of sun these days. So we're gonna grab this in, and here we're gonna export feedback mock JSON equal this, and we're gonna need to remove this part. Export const, yeah, like this. And also, yeah, that's mainly it for data JSON. Let's create folder models. Inside of it, we're gonna have a few things. First one which we're gonna define is gonna be feedback model. So this we need for this part. Where is it? We need mock here, feedback model.js. Let's call it export interface and I feedback, and for him we need this data, and okay. So this one is gonna be number, ID, title, string, enhancement. It's a categories, and with that, it's this one thing. So probably the best way to do it is to have for categories a enum. Let's keep it as string for now. Once we finish with types and models, we're gonna change it. And status, also we need to have here enum, and description is gonna be string. Yes. Then we're gonna switch to, what is it? We're gonna create here a enums model.js. As I told, we're gonna need here to have category enum. For this, we create export enum category enum. Then inside of it, Oh, I didn't want to do this. Enum is gonna be string, and let's try to define what is it. So it's basically all of this. I'm not sure, do we need to have all here? Yeah, because all is also kind of an option. So all equal something. Then UI, let's just copy this. UI UX enhancement, difficult word, enhancement, wow, enhancement, then bug and feature, and it's gonna be string enum, so we need to duplicate all this here, UI UX enhancement, bug and feature. Okay, we define it category now, so for categories we're gonna use this thing. Then for status we also need to use enum, export enum status enum, and the status could be the following. It's especially it would be seen better here. So all this planet in progress live, it's a status, but also we have one more status, it's enhancement status or suggestion. So this one, and we have 4 of them. So status, suggestion, planet, in progress. Let's copy this small thing, and the last one, enhancement live. Let's do a duplicates here. In progress planet, and here suggestion, and comma error here, not needed here. So we defined our 2 enums, and this one we need to use here, status enum, and we need to export it. And also the last thing that we're gonna have here is comments, but I don't want to define them here. It's a bit strange how it's done, because I would prefer to have it in another way. So basically, for now, probably I will just put here comments count, or I don't know, do I need to have it like this? Because it could be a huge list and it would be better to retrieve comments separately. So I would add here, let's have it for now, comments, and it's gonna be, we need to define also the model for comment. Comments model.js, it waits here. Yes. And for each comment we have replies. So first of all, we need to define export interface I reply, and it's gonna be, what does it have? Each reply contains content replying to and user. For user, we didn't define an interface, so let's do it. But probably also for user, it's better to have independent user model.js. And for user, export interface I user general, I would say, because it could be that we have some kind of how would it say, authorization. So for user, we need to have image. It's gonna be string, name the same, and user name string. And this we're gonna remove. And for each reply, we're gonna have comments I reply. What is it? We need to have content. It's gonna be string, replying to default combination a string, and user I user general, like this. And what do we have? We should have here also interface for comments. Export interface I comment, and with this we're gonna do next. Also, each comment contains ID, number, then it's content, the same thing, string, and the replies. Replies, it's gonna be I reply collection, like this. And then each feedback collects what is it? I comment, and it's only one. So import, or it could be it could be many of them. So basically, I believe that's it. In general, we might adjust them a bit, but it would be enough to start working with. The next thing, let's define our components and container structure. So basically, for some of you who might not aware, Angular has some rules that we have smart and dummy components. For smart components, the name of them should be container, and actually containers communicate with services, user store, so state management, etc. And components usually basically just receive some information through inputs, and then do some presentation or action, and just use through outputs receive back information to containers. So let's basically we need to create folder for containers and also for components. Then we're gonna need to have services here. But let's start with containers. So as I told before, I created something like that just to better understand how to divide all items into the page. So we're gonna have for app, it's gonna be our basic component. Oh, and actually there's something. Yeah, and we need to run it. So to run it, we're gonna use npm run start. And for containers, we're gonna have a few things. Also, I have a plugin to generate a component. It's easier. Also, it's possible to do through command line. It's just ng component, define the name for it and the route. Let's quickly take a look. G component. Yeah, so basically I need to define name for it and the route where it will be created. But for me, it's easier through extension, because extension terminated. Funny. Also, I forgot to do git init. Yeah, I would like to share all the information. And here we open this, and we need to do git init, git status, app component. Yeah, we're good to go. Just to have all these resources into GitHub, so for you it will be available after the video. I will push everything and also drop the link in the description. So take a look. So, is it working or no? Wow. Easier. It's some other extension, generate component containers, and I'm gonna need, what is it? It's gonna be feedbacks page 1, default, confirm. Okay, we're gonna just copy this and put it like this. I don't know why. Then in containers we need to have our filter. So it's gonna be filter. And one more component is gonna be, so feedbacks page will contain the whole view. And then we need here filter, a list, and we're gonna need to have a component for each component's feedback, like this. So basically we created a general structure. Let's try to localhost to see. Okay, it's loaded, but yeah, it's because I removed everything. I started worrying why I don't see anything. So let's define our router module. For this app, this we don't need it. Let me just take a look how it's, you see this. I'm just increase the scale a bit, so for you it's gonna be more visible. To define our routes, it's pretty easy to use. We just need to specify here a path which we're gonna use. So the first base URL feedbacks. But why I do not need to specify it here? I can just on index on base URL we're gonna use our component, and it's gonna be feedback page component. And then if we need to if it's something, if it's empty, but it's not gonna be empty, yeah. So, and default, not default, but if we type some shitty information, we also need to redirect to, and this. That's gonna be it for now. Roads, and it should be in app module, app routing module. Yes, it's here, there, here, and probably here we need path match and path full. It's a string full. No, it's still not here. Okay. Feedbacks. Let's have it like this, and if nothing, redirect to feedbacks, and here we need to remove this. Here's our component approved. It's because I forgot to save it, probably. No. SD is here, but it was redirected. Some problems from the beginning. It should be feedbacks for root. Our redirect is not working properly. Feedbacks path match full, and why I've been redirecting to the empty if I remove this. Feedbacks. Feedbacks cannot match any row. But I shouldn't have here this component path const. Ah, oh, I'm stupid boy. It's because I forgot to add router outlet where all our routes will be rendered. Router outlet. And right now we should be good to go with even empty route. Yes, finally. Oh, fail on the fails. A lot of fails today, guys. And from where I taken this feedbacks page. Okay, it's yeah. So this one thing is working right now. Let's then create a basic structure for this. It's gonna be our feedback page. Also, I need to define styles. To do this, yeah, let's just grab and take a look what we have. So basically, our feedback page, it's two columns, so we can use flex here. And let's start with section, and we will add class to speed things up display flex. Then we're gonna need to have here a site. So it's gonna be our static bar where we show everything, and feedbacks list. So aside is gonna be our class sidebar, just like that, and feedback port. And the another section that we need, it's for our this page, for this page. So we're gonna add here, we created filter. It's gonna be f filter, and the list, for list we have app list component. Let's take a look. Filter list feedback board. Okay. Then we need to specify some styles for this. So this section is gonna be flexible, but sidebar is gonna be static. To do this, we need to define that sidebar. It's gonna be flex 0, 0, and static width. What is it? Static width 255 pixels, and margin right 32, or not 32, it's 30, MR 30. And our what is it, should we have a class for this? Yeah, class main column is gonna be auto main column flex 1 auto width, and basically background black, background red, just to see. Okay, and we need to put we don't have class display flex, that's why it's not visible for us right now. The structure, let's update our global styles here. We're gonna define and import more later on. Yeah, okay. Display flex, this one. Display flex like this. Okay, it's already works in some way. And I forgot to add styles for main. app main width. It's gonna be hard coded. But it's not. Let's keep it like this for now, and styles for body. What is the background? But for background we need to use a variable. Let's specify this for now like this. Background this one. Then it's gonna be display flex for raw no wrap, and justify content center. Okay, it's static, but it's okay for now. So it's already 2 columns. Let's also check. Yeah, redirected, routing works. So that's basic structure for now. The next step, we need to add our design system. So basically it's some predefined colors, etc, etc. Sorry, it's shiny, but I want to sleep a bit. And also I created a notes here. What we need to achieve. Setup, this one is done. Define a mockdata, done. Yeah. Feedback page, etc, etc. Filter list, done. Then I miss here one point. Define add basic styles. For this it's gonna be variables, button, fonts, colors, and etc. So this is gonna be our next step. Then we're gonna do a structure, main structure for state management. We're gonna use for this NgRx, and then so just 3 points left. So we need to continue to work on our base styles. It's the most difficult part, because not difficult, but we need to define a bunch of things to start working with. But yeah, it is what it is. Life isn't easy. So first thing, let's define our fonts that we're gonna use. For this, we're gonna create a independent folder here, call it styles. Inside of it, font.scss, and we're gonna need few things here. So basically, it's gonna be what? So we already have a predefined styles, body, regular, blah blah blah. That's how to define all of them. It's not needed, I believe. So typography, we need to use just or just, I don't know. Let me find it. Google fonts, just like this. What other styles do we need? We need, where is it? Bold, regular, and semi-bold. So regular this, semi-bold this, and we need to have bold, this one, and there should be import. Yeah, and we drop this into our styles, and we need also to define the fonts for everything. Let's move it further. So all will have the next font. What is the basic font that we have here? What is the size of it? So it's probably this one, regular, yeah, 1623 line height. So font 1623, and it's regular, and here we need to define that it's just not sure, and sans serif, like this. Okay, it's in place. Come back to the fonts. So basically what we have few things to deal with. I'm gonna just define h1, h2, h3, h4, and all other stuff we're gonna add later on. All of them are bold, so we can just type h2, 3, and h4, font weight 800. Then for each of them we need to define a styles, so it's h1 24, 35, 24, 35 pixels, and letter spacing minus 0.33 pixels. And then we just copy this thing, and here h2 is gonna be 2029, 20, here 29, 9, almost a German, minus 25, also here the same, and minus 0.2 pixels, and I can do in this way probably. And 1826, 1826, and 1420, 14, and here we have 20. Okay, and then we're gonna do an import of it to our styles, import URL, and this is gonna be app styles and fonts.scss. But yeah, we don't need to specify this. Okay. What we might need else, I would like to have variables with colors and etc. So it's gonna be variables.css, and here we're gonna need to add few things. So let's take a look. What is our primary color? I don't like the way that here we kind of do not have the names, and we do not understand what is the primary. 3a, 3.4, it's another one. Yep. 3a. But the primary, I think, is kind of 3a, 3.4. This one. So let's since that this one is a primary, then primary secondary is gonna be this. It's kind of light. This one, primary light. Then this one, I believe it's another one. This one gonna be dark, and all other we're gonna define later. Dark. Do we need to add some classes? I think no. Sorry, one moment. So in general, I think we good with styles, and we add more of them later during the process. So the next our step will be to add NgRx structure. So this one is done. And we need to use effects here. For this, we need to install several several packages. NgRx store we need. Then store DevTools. Get started with the package. Why use get installation? Yes. So we need, first thing we need to have basically NgRx store. Then we need to have store DevTools. The store DevTools, it's a npm package to be able to use Redux for development tools, and it will show us the whole state that we have. And then we need to have effects. Effects, we needed them to, so for example, we have some action that we're gonna dispatch. And once we dispatch this action, effect gonna track all actions that we trigger. And once we dispatch some action, effects appear and do some other stuff. It could be backend call, I don't know, manipulation of the state, and so on and so on. npm audit fix. I don't know what the error we have, but it's better to do it than not. Okay. So npm run with it. npm run start. We ready to go with it. Here it is. So we edit store DevTools, store effects. What else? We need more. Yes. Effects, store DevTools. No. It's enough. Yeah. It's enough to go. Now we edit. Let's create here a folder for state. And the first step that we're gonna define is gonna be our actions that we're gonna need to get the list of feedbacks. So here we're gonna define feedback actions.ts, and how it's gonna do, we need to define 3 actions to get feedbacks. First of them will be get feedbacks. This one we need to dispatch, and then we will track the actions, and in effect we see that this action was dispatched, and then we will do the call to backend to be able to retrieve the information from API. And to create an action here in NgRx, we have a command create action in which we should pass the unique name for it. And for us, it's going to be feedbacks. For example, get, it's a best practice kind of to differentiate them by some text kind of, and then what it's actually doing. So the first one is like this, and we need to have two more. One of them, once we receive them success, get feedbacks, where the feedbacks success, and we will return these from the backend back to reducer, and reducer will have the data that we will received from backend, and then reducer should take care of putting this data into the store. And then we will gonna need here error. In any case, if error appears, we're gonna trigger this one, and if needed. But I'm gonna just create an action for this, and later on we will define how to handle errors. So this is error, and this one is success. How to type this? Like this. And one more thing that we need to pass here is payload. So as you can see, action has a type and two more overloads. One of the overloads, it's props that we're gonna need to pass to retrieve uh, the payload from effect. So it's actually if you need to pass some information from action, the props here you need to use to run them in payload. And we will pass the feedback, what is going to be feedback list. And this feedback list, for this we have feedback interface, and it's going to be an array, so it should be like this. Okay, the next thing that we're going to deal with, we're going to define a state for our application. You first of all, is there two ways to define the state. It can be for root, that means that it is for whole application, or you can define state per feature. But first of all, you need to have for root, and then if you have several modules in Angular, for each module you will define state by feature. But in our case, we will go just with for root. It would be enough. But yeah, feedback actions dot not actions reducers dot yes. I'm not such proficient in state management, but I know a bit about it. So it's a good chance to have some practice. So first of all, we need to define an interface for our current state. It's gonna be what we're gonna need. We're gonna store feedbacks. For this, we have feedback as usual. Then we're gonna also, I would add loading, and it's gonna be Boolean. So whenever we load in our feedbacks list, we're gonna use this loading to show preload. Then we can create export const initial state. So that means once our application started, what would be the initial state for store. So it's gonna be feedbacks. For this we're gonna need empty array, and loading will be false, like this. And then we need in a reducer on each action we need to do something. For this we're gonna create a variable. The name for it would be feedback reducer equal, and there available create reducer function in which we able to catch all our actions. So as you can see, the first thing that we need to pass it's our initial state. So initial state, and then we have a function on, which basically gonna which is basically gonna catch our actions. For this, we need to import all our actions, import all as feedback actions from like this. So feedback actions gonna store all our 3 actions. And once we catch the first one, get feedbacks, what we need to do, we need to modify our state, in which way it is for us to decide. So it's gonna be state. Here we have, so we need to modify some particular state properties. So in general, we just using spread to save the state as it is. If we're not gonna add anything, we'll have the state the same, but we need to reset feedbacks and also put loading in true state. That means that once we dispatch get feedbacks, our state change and the feedbacks list will be empty and we start loading. What else do we have? We have on when the action is successful actions. Get feedback success, and then state in props we define that we receive feedback list. So for this we need to do state, and also here we're gonna have feedbacks list, and then we're gonna change our state. So for this we have here return like this, and in the same way we change state. Then in feedbacks we assign feedbacks list and loading set to false. And make sure feedback list why it does not exist. Okay, S wasn't needed. and make sure that it's the same probes as you pass here. So you can see that if something wrong, then you won't be able to see it. And here we're gonna do in this way. Okay. And just need to add small spaces here. And for error, we won't handle them right now. So basically, that's we defined our reducer, and the last step that we need to do, export function reducer, and here we have state or undefine it. It's the way we need to export our reducer. And then here we need to pass action. The type of it will be action. And then we need this function is gonna return feedback reducer. And feedback reducer, we need to add state and action like this. And then they're almost finished. We need to use our reducer in app module because we define it as for root. Here we're gonna use store module, and here two types for feature for root. We're gonna use for root, and in for root we need to pass reducers. But basically it's gonna be our function, and also we're gonna define our state. So it's gonna be feedbacks, and here from we need to have import also all as from feedback and from what is it, state and feedback reducer. So we need to have here reducer, and here feedbacks gonna be our reducer like this. By this we defined the state for our root application. It's gonna be feedbacks, and here we're gonna store this structure. And also because we imported store module dev tools module just to be able to take a look on our store, we define the store log only. It's all default thing, environment production and auto pause true. This configuration is on available here. View installation, blah blah blah. Overview. Here it is. We probably can basically copy this. Store DevTools module. Yes. So and after this, probably our state will be defined. Let's take a look. Redux state feedbacks, and let's change it here. Feedbacks. Maybe I'm gonna change this to list because it list, and here gonna need to change to list, and here list like this, just to be more clear. feedbacks. So base state for our app, define it. The next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna create an effect. So for this we need to have one more file, feedback effects.ts, and once you do it several times you will understand it better. So our effects, they are injectable, and also we need to define effects in the app module. So injectable means that we could decorate that we could inject our class, and effects basically it's a class, feedback effects, and here we're gonna have all our kind of action interceptors. We're gonna try to catch some action and to do our thing. So first of all, the first action that we're gonna define, effect, it's load feedback equal, for this we're gonna create effects, not effect, like this, from ngEffects, yes, and this basically a function in which we should catch all actions, and then action's gonna be observable. Where I grab this, I don't know. Yeah, and this is gonna be does not exist. Yeah. Also, we need to have here constructor in which we're gonna pass few things. Private. The first of them is gonna be actions to catch all actions, and next one we're gonna need service from which we're gonna call our our API in future. So in general we're just gonna use our mock for now, but feedback what is it feedback dot service.ts, and basically because of we have so service is also injectable, and because we have only one module here, we gonna provide this on root level, but it's also possible provide to for feature level, so only to some module, and also to the components. And here we're gonna export class feedback service, and here in constructor we need to have private HTTP, and it should be HTTP module here. HTTP module. What is the name for it? HTTP client. Yeah. HTTP client module. No. Client module. For this I also need package. I don't remember. To be able to do a request with this. HTTP client, blah blah blah, yes. HTTP client module. Everything is correct. Why you? Does not work properly. I don't know what is wrong with him and why it's not importing, but yeah. And here we need to do HTTP client, HTTP client, like this. And then we're gonna have here some functions, methods of the class. One of them is gonna be get feedbacks, and later on it's gonna be this HTTP get and some request. But for now it's gonna be we're gonna return uh, of it's from RxJS. Those that means that we return an observable, and we need our feedback mock.json to return this. And right now we can go back to the effects and do actually a request. So actions, it's an observable, so we need to use pipe here. Inside of pipe, we gonna use of type from NgRx. Of type, we need to, as I told you before, in actions we use this, and this is kind of identifier which type of action we need to catch. Then we're gonna use merge map from RxJS. It's also not identified. Why? Merge map. What is wrong? Sometimes it's really bothering me why it does not work in properly. Merge map from RxJS operators, like this. Should be fine. And merge map actually means that we have our request and we, let me just don't remember for sure, merge map. Yeah, we have an inner subscription to our action, and we taking it and return it to this. Here we need also private feedback service. Here feedback service. This feedback service get feedbacks, and after that it's also an observable. So we're gonna do pipe. We're gonna do it here, pipe, and a few things we need to define here. Oh, there's a lot of this, then pipe, and in effects we need to do several things. One of them is catch error. So if and all the time effects return an observable. If we get any error, we need to handle it. And for now, we're gonna return just empty from RxJS. It's basically an observable now. And here we're gonna do map, and what we need to do is to dispatch an action, but a bit in another way. So for example, we receive our feedbacks, then we doing next type of action that we're gonna call is gonna be success here. And then feedback, make sure that you type this right, because it's all pretty. And here feedbacks, sorry, and here comma. And what do you know? Not know? Create effects. I don't know, what is it? What is wrong? Of type merge map pipe feedbacks. Here type seems okay. Catch error. It's on pipe, it's on merge map. I don't see what is wrong. This import is gonna kill me at some day. So basically, here we create effect, then we check some type. Okay, we catch this action, then we do inner subscription on this action and feedback from the service. Then we have an observable of feedback of this. Then we decide if it's catch error, we return empty just for now. But if it's success, then we feedbacks. Here's the error. Actions. Okay. Feedback should be in this way. Okay. And then we basically dispatch an action with another type, and on reducer we're gonna catch this. And generally we in our feedback page we can already try to grab this, kind of to do a call. Feedback page component, yes. So what we need to have here? Yeah, and I forgot to add this to app module, because it's also important to provide to import a module for effects module, also for root. And here we just feedback effects like this. Yeah, just import the class, that's it. And then in feedbacks page we're gonna do the next. We need to have here private store. The type of it gonna be store with state how to import your feedback reducers. This one, import store from NgRx, yes. G on it, yeah, we need it. Then in constructor later on we gonna select our data from state, but right now what we can do is this store. We can dispatch our um, action by get feedbacks like this, and this is gonna be our action. So we dispatch it, and then our effect should catch it and return and to have the list of items here. Yep, 12 items here, and as you can see, one action dispatched, then second, and we be able to see all changes here. And we need also to add almost the last component, but not the least important. It's a selector. So we need to have one more file here, feedback selectors.js. And basically what selectors do, it just when we call it, we need to select something. We go into the store and grab data from it and return back as observable to component. So what we need to define here first, it's export const, and here we're gonna have the initial kind of selector, which is gonna grab the whole state. So here we have state parameter feedbacks bugs, and the type of it I will put any, but it's not. So basically here for state we need to have a type, but what is the type for feedbacks? Reducer, probably this. Yeah, it's gonna be this type, state. We need to import it from here, and then we're gonna do next. Then we can have here state and return feedbacks. Here should be the bracket, yeah, like this. So we select the whole state for our feedbacks right now, but we don't need the whole of it. So we just create another selector in which we're gonna select feedbacks equal create selector, and for this we need to have state, so the whole state, it's our select root, and then from it once we have select root, we define the state, the variable state, and for this we just need to have state and list. And also let's grab loading, select feedbacks loading, here loading, and then in our component we can use these selectors to get the data from store. So it's gonna be, we need to define a variable feedbacks, and also I've just that here we shouldn't see all feedbacks, we should see only suggestions. But yeah, let's call it suggestions. Set feedback suggestion. How to do it? Is it easier to create another selector? Yeah, let's do it right now. So we on our page on this one, we need to have the list of suggestions, not all feedbacks. So with the status suggestion, and we do not need active, blah 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 blah. So here we're gonna have feedbacks. Is it feedback suggestions? Create selector. We already have feedbacks here. It's on. We just need to filter this one, and it's gonna be. It's not the state. It's already feedbacks. The whole list. So here we're gonna need to do the next. We need filter our feedbacks. Filter. It's an array, yes, so we can filter. And here we're gonna have one feedback. And we need to check status equal. And we had a enum, status enum, yeah. Import suggestion, not planned, suggestion, like this. And we don't need this. Okay, and then in this page we will be able to, it's gonna be observable. The type of it I feedback, it's an array, and then here we're gonna be able to define feedback suggestion equal, and then from store we need to select. It's another pipe from NgRx store, by which we could be able to specify what we need to get feedback. And what is wrong? Observable I feedback here, but here you don't want to work with us. Why? It's gonna be this, like this maybe. Feedback stays. Some stupid error again. And selector. Possible to have here just this? No. Do I need to specify something else? It's because he arguing on this. I get this error, but I'm not sure how to solve it right now. So here we shouldn't have any, but I don't know right now how to not have this. So yeah, let's check this, and later on we will come back to the. So we have list, and here we're gonna do next ol li, and here g4, and we have feedback suggestions. I think pipe is needed to subscribe on observable, and then we have here feedback, and here we show what. Let's just print this feedback JSON. Take a look if it's gonna be yes. It's here. So actually all status suggestion is here. And I need to remove this red black thing. Oh, where is it? It's in styles? Oh no, it's in app. No. Feedback page. Yep. This, we don't need it anymore because we actually have some content. Here, all information. And in the next part, we're gonna deal with stopping infrastructure. Not infrastructure, but print the list of feedbacks in this way. We just So the next step which I want to cover in this video is how to print our feedback in such structure, because for me it was a bit unexpected how easy it could be, and that's why I want to share this with you. And I was starting doing this by flags, blah blah blah, and then I understood that it's a good example to do using grid, but because I do not have a lot of experience with grids, I decided this is a good chance to take a look how it could be done using grids, and I decided to do it using grids. So in the list component, we define our UL, and here will be our list item. For this, we also need to have a input variable here. Input variable needs to pass data from one component to another. So for example, and also list is a good candidate to be moved to the components, and I might do this later. And we probably move list to the components and just remove feedback, one item, but we'll see. So the input is a good to pass the data between components, but it works only in one way, so from parent to the child, not in another way. And here we're gonna receive feedback list. This is gonna be feedback like this. Also, we need to import this one, and then it's no usage. In list component, we need to do for each li in G4, and here because it's not gonna be observable anymore, and here we're gonna have feedback. And then in the parent, where we define, previously we printed this as prayer, but right now we don't need this part anymore. It just was an example. And here we're gonna pass feedback list equal s. And there is one thing that if we pass an async pipe, it could be null, but it's not acceptable. So we need to put what is this? Exclamation, I'm not sure, attention sign inside of it. And then in here a list inside of it, where is this list component, we just let's bring just title to see that everything is here. Feedback dot title. Where is it? Something went wrong. Okay. Components list components.js. Okay. Why? They have because now for input. Bum bum bum. I don't remember. I had such error. Angular input. Yeah. Yes, strict property initialization there. Yeah, I remember right now that this we need to change in tsconfig and edit compiler option if by default it's true, and in this case we need to have an initializer here, but it's not needed in our case. So still error. What an error right now. List components 18. Strange that feedback list. I feedback title. I didn't title. There's some problem here. Feedbacks async. Yes, feedback. Feedback list. In feedback list, the same name. What is an error? Oh, okay. Everything is working fine. then what we need to do here? Then we're gonna define a few things. First of all, let's define the structure for list component. Each item here, maybe I will reduce this, but for now it's gonna be like this. So class feedback, just to, if it's gonna be other li here, just to not mess up, and this is gonna be unique one. So feedback, then we need to print here several things. It's title, description. So oh, sorry guys and girls, of course. So the first one thing, let's print upvotes. This could be a button with value, button class upvotes, but I would create a wrapper around it. Oh my god, sorry. Upvotes. And here we're gonna have a button inside of which we should have feedback upvotes like this. Then we're gonna have a title. I believe it should be 1826 and it should be in our design. Yeah, it's H3. Then we will have here a description. Title. Just copy this thing because I don't want to have a super long video. P class description. Feedback description. What next? Category. We need to have comments here. Okay, let's then create span class comments count, and here we're gonna have comments and need to have length here, and it could be equal 0. I will just put like this for now. And the last thing that we need is category. So class category, and then here category. And we can jump to the, okay. So here our basic list. So we can jump to the styles, and here we're gonna need to list style type none, and then because it's OL, padding should be in 0 per each feedback. We need to have a color, should be white background. And what is the margin? 20 to bottom. So for this we need background white. Margin bottom 20. Also here we have some radius. It's which 10 pixels. To rest 10. Then each feedback is gonna be as grid, and we need to define, so it looks already better a bit. So each feedback is gonna be grid, and we need to define a template for it. So basically we have 3 columns. One where we have upvotes, then the middle section where we have all description regarding suggestion, and then we have comments. So for this we're gonna use grid template columns, and we just so we need to name each of our column. So it's gonna be first, or not first, upvotes. The size of it, let's do the 50 pixels for now. Then gonna be main section of our feedback, and the width of it is gonna be outer, and the last one is gonna be comments, and the size of it also 50. I'm not sure is it the best way to name them as item, because in case of redesign we will need, for example, if we swap places between comments and upvotes, then we need to change columns. So I think it's gonna be better to have it like this, first, last, just to avoid future refactoring. And we have For upvotes, we need to define where this component start and ends by column and rows. And because we have, and it could be easier to understand here. So each our feedback is a grid which has for now this structure, but it's also, I forgot to save, which has this structure. Where is it? As you can see, it's 3 columns, 1, 2, and 3. And actually it's 1 row for now. But once we define the middle section, there will be 3 rows. So let's start from upvotes. And to define, we need put a read column and define the start and end of read. It starts at the first and ends at the main. Then we have, what else do we have? We have h3, and it starts at main, finishes at last, and this one for description and for category. This description and category class. And the last thing is comments. Comments count, like this, comments count, and it starts and finishes at the last. So right now the known names grid template columns. I should be able to see grid template columns, feedback. Maybe I need to try grid row and start at 1 and finish it at, no. Shit. Pocket wrapper. Yeah, it better. So as far as you can see, right now we have 3 rows and 3 columns, and it's because we have this one thing here. And we need also to align a bit on this. We need to place at the center. There's such possibility to do by style align self, and here is center. So this one we're gonna use for comments, align self center. Also we need to specify grid row, and it should start and starts at first grid row 1 4, like this. read raw 1/4, and then for upvotes we should have the same thing. And in general it will look like this, and this we can manipulate in every way we want. And how to justify? Okay, we can go like this. Text align center, text align center. And also we need to have the same for this. And for me, it was really unexpected to see that it's such easy to place everything whenever you want. So just few rows of CSS and we already have the grid. And that's mainly everything what I wanted to talk today. So this one is done. In the next video, we're gonna create filter, but without add feedback functionality, just place the button, but we're gonna sort everything what we needed, show the correct number of suggestions. The count of them we will grab from, sorry, a lot of talking today. We will do filter with sorting, grab suggestions from the store, style of this section at least. Maybe we will could do of what's race, but I'm not sure how to do it right now because it should be just available once per user. We'll see. And then maybe we start working with this thing, but it's only static information here. Here we have different things, but here only static. So we'll see how to deal with it. Thank you everyone who was with me. I hope you enjoyed the video and it was useful for you. It's still a lot of things to do, and I believe we will need 5-6 videos to do this, but I really hope it's gonna be useful for some of you. And please do not forget to subscribe. It's really important for me. Press the like button, leave a comment. I really appreciate everything what you're doing. And if you have any questions or any problem, you could always put a comment and I will try to help with it. Or welcome on Twitch streams, which is I'm trying to do them on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, at least for a few hours. And each day I'm trying to see if it's possible for me to schedule stream. So probably also I'm trying before each sprint to schedule it, so you will be informed about it. Also follow me on the Twitter. I have some activities there, and thank you. Don't forget to subscribe, please. See you in the next video. Bye bye.